responsible for nearly half of the country's student debt to the tune of $1.19 trillion, and the government is more likely to pick up the check. Yep, they'll forgive it. So is the federal government encouraging the rise of highly educated deadbeats? Joining us right now for a debate is the Vice President of Political Polling and Public Affairs Research at the WPA, Lisa Booth, and the Executive, how are you? The Executive Director of the Accountability Project, Nomi Kantz. Welcome to both of you. Nomi, are we encouraging people to go to college even though they can't pay for it because we're going to forgive the debt anyway?
No, actually, it's a little bit less, jaw-dropping. The reality is that the graduate earners in our country are the highest earners, and they have the lowest unemployment rate. So under this new system, this pay-as-you-go system, those who get out of grad school and have this high debt actually start paying into the system right away more than any other earners. Now, the undergraduate degrees are a different story. You have a lot of for-profit institutions with very few graduates who have taken out a lot of loans and can't pay them off and aren't getting the jobs to pay them off. So the system's a little bit different for each level of education.
Lisa, how do you view this trend?
Well, look, that's actually not the case. And look, these graduate students, of that $1.2 trillion of debt, they're taking up 40% of that debt when only 14% of those graduate students are representative in the higher education students. But look, what we're absolutely doing is encouraging these highly educated deadbeats. And this is one of the fastest growing entitlements that we have right now. And look, these students are taking advantage of programs like the income-based repayments, which has doubled under President Obama over the past 2 years, and in student loan debt forgiveness, and that's at the expense of taxpayers.
That's actually untrue. You know, when students
that's
graduate,
actually the facts,
those are 72%. It's absolutely false when it's 72% of graduate degree earners have jobs straight out of graduate school. So they're actually paying into the system right away. In fact, if they were getting graduate degrees, you'd be paying for them because they don't have jobs, and you'd be paying for their entitlement
These programs have become incredibly lax under President Obama. As I've mentioned, the income-based repayment program alone has more than doubled under President Obama. But this is what we need to do. We actually, as the federal government needs to re-examine its role in the process as a whole. Because, look, this is what's happening. Since 1984, for undergraduate degrees, since 1984, private four-year universities have more than doubled. For public universities, it's quadrupled, and the reason being, there's a study recently came out from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York that showed for every $3 that the federal government pumps into the system, the cost of tuition rises by $2.
So the private schools are upping the
Sure.
While the loan amount continues to go up. Meanwhile, the federal government's in control. Banks never would have allowed this forgiveness because they got to make money. They're in a for-profit business. The government's in control, and we're taking the bath. Don't you both agree on that?
No, actually what happened was under, 30 years ago, Milton Friedman came up with this system 40 years ago, saying that federal repayment programs should go to students, not to schools. So there's no accountability of schools. And what's happened is states have cut funding. States have cut funding to schools, and as a result, these for-profit institutions that are complete scams are taking advantage of federal subsidies. And I agree.
But they're taking advantage of it because there's no accountability, Miki. And the problem is we've seen a direct correlation about the amount of money from the federal government going in and the rising cost of college tuitions. But guess what? The problem is that Democrats like you, Miki, and Hillary Clinton want to add to the problem. If you look at Hillary Clinton's higher education program, she wants to raise spending by $350 billion and tax taxpayers even more to pay for it.
Well, listen, a wonderful debate. It's obviously a hot topic. We're all talking about it because we're back to school this month. We can no longer avoid it. And you know what? You guys should have a spin-off series. We can go for 3 hours without commercials. All right?
Thanks so much. Everyone's awake.
Appreciate it. No, great job. Appreciate the research you both put in.